Aaron, I'm going to throw some more stats out at you.
Well, can we just address what happened so people understand why there's two? Chad got upset that his mic wasn't working. He said, if I'm not here, no one's here, and shut the whole thing down. So we had to start it back up. We couldn't continue on once he hit the end broadcast. So we do apologize. Again, new toys, still figuring things out. All good.
No, that wasn't. It had nothing to do with figuring it out. I just hit the wrong button.
It's the end broadcast is very close to the X on the window. Entirely too close. They should move it somewhere else.
As soon as it was one of those, like, it happened in slow motion. As I was clicking it, I was like, "Don't click that."
No. Press down and try and move it without getting off.
Well, there's actually when you hit in broadcast, there's a button next to it that says "Not yet." But I guess I was too late in even getting to that one, and I'm clicking on it like.
I mean,
not yet.
End broadcast, and then a pop-up comes and says, "Are you sure?" That's what it should be.
But then everybody always gets mad about the "Are you sure?" But anyway,
yeah,
true.
So what were you going to ask about the stats?
Just pretty much the big men. I mean, traditionally, Cincinnati has always had at least one big man that they can kind of go throw it into the post and get a bucket or two. Whether it be Trey Scott recently. Chris Vogt some games.
I'm not sure I'd throw that name in
his
that
junior year.
Yeah, I'm still not sure I'm throwing that.
Beginning, I'm joking. That was kind of a joke. But Kyle Washington, just a few names like that to throw out. Do you kind of sense that this is a team that needs, or is basketball forming into the way where you need to shy away from the two big men approach and kind of have the stretch four and a backup stretch four? Or is the amount of big men that the Bearcats have currently on the roster just an okay amount, but you've got to develop Victor and lock in and becoming more of a scorer, or Odi Oguama, teach him to continuously knock down the shot and go for his, look to score every once in a while. I don't know. It just seems as if there is somewhat of a black hole, especially in conference play, has been no point production in the post.
Well, I mean, bigs are kind of probably the most hard to get your hand. Like it's difficult, I think, at this point to get your hands on a good big
right.
for anybody. And when you have the way that everything ended for the previous regime and the way that this team was put together in 30 days, that's how they end up with a Duado, Odie. We didn't even know if Vic was going to be a factor this year or not when Wes Miller got here. Vic's been a pleasant surprise. That said, he's in his first full year, actually playing as opposed to rehabbing.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, if he can develop, sure, because he shows flashes. Like he had a fantastic look to Odie when Odie was down low early in the first quarter or the first half. I'm sorry. But I don't know. I mean, as we all know, I mean, the talent level that Cincinnati has is not anywhere near the level of a Memphis, anywhere near the level of a Houston.
Right.
And that's, I mean, you look at this roster top to bottom, and there's not really anything currently that Cincinnati has outside of maybe DDJ that keeps up with anything close to what Houston has. And you're going to continue to see this level of disparity, unfortunately, that started a couple of years back with, Kelvin Sampson and then Dem Boys, and has just kind of carried over here now that some of those guys are gone. And it's not looking like there's any light at the end of the tunnel in between that disparity for Cincinnati.
Yeah,
sure there is, but
I don't know, man.
The way it's currently constructed, here's where you get in trouble. You're essentially, when Jeremiah Davenport's not on the floor as your four-man, you can't score at 2 of the 5 spots.
Right.
And if you can't score at 2 of the 5 spots in modern basketball, you're in trouble. It doesn't work that way anymore. You have to be able to spread it around and be able to score in multiple ways from multiple spots. It's not as easy as, or it's not as simple. Easy is not the word. It's not as simple as do they need somebody to go on the block and get them a bucket.
Right.
Well, they could use that. They also could use somebody to, like, when
mid-range jumper
go out and hit a jumper.
Right.
Stretch the defense out. Give your guards some more space. Make the pick and pop something that defenses have to honor. Like, that's why I think, like, and we'll see how it plays out when he gets here. I would develop Josh Reed as a stretch 4. He's 6'8". He's got a 7'2" wingspan. He has guard skills.
He's also still growing. Like, you're not necessarily even done growing at 17 years old.
Yeah, he's filled out. I would say Skillings would probably maybe be a candidate to be still growing because he's so thin and doesn't look like he's started filling out. Josh Reed looks like he started filling out a little bit more. But I mean, it's you can't have 2 spots on the floor that offensively you just can't. They can't get you a bucket at any given time. Again, go back to the second half yesterday when they slowed down DeJulius. Cincinnati didn't have anywhere to turn. They didn't have anywhere to go that they could draw something up, get the ball to somebody, and respectively believe that they were going to get a basket. Like that when you're playing upper level teams, you of course you can get away with and get away with it in the middle to the bottom of the American Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
But when you're playing teams that matter, you can't have one guy that can score, man. Like you've got to be able to put some points on the board, and that's going to have to be addressed. I think Reed helps you address that. They're going to have to find a 5 that can score, whether it be developing Vic to the point that he's a lot more comfortable. He's in his head right now. Like those 2 passes he tried, the little shovel passes he tried to throw in the middle of traffic in the lane. You're 5 feet from the rim. Score the basketball. You're right there. You're 7 foot. There's nobody that's going to stop you. Just put it in.
Especially because we've seen him make that shot.
Yeah.
He's good at that little flip shot, And how many times yesterday did we see the Bearcats run like a high ball screen and then both defenders committed to the guard heavily, and a pass to the big was just they caught it and had nothing to do with it. When either they could have tried to lay it up, could have tried to go to the basket, could have turned, gathered, and maybe shot one. But it's just like, Houston was just completely giving Cincinnati that.
Yeah, because they're not a threat. Those guys aren't a threat. Nobody's afraid of them doing anything other than Koval if he's got his shot working.
Right.
But nobody's afraid of those guys having the ball at the top of the key. They're just not.
I agree. But it brings me back to all of this, and Chad, you've mentioned it quite a lot, and I love just the press conferences after games, no matter who's in it, player-wise, and then, of course, Wes Miller just knocks it out of the ballpark. First, David DeJulius is just I'm really happy to see how his season has been progressing and how his career in the red and black has been progressing as well. But I just really loved how you just mentioned the amount of confidence that Wes Miller instills in the entire team and has instilled in him. Because David seems like a guy that, he needs that confidence added to it. And Wes did a great job with that. And then, of course, I love this quote that Wes said. He said, "Damn right, I think about it big picture. I want us to be the team that kicks people's ass by 22, kicks people's ass on the board, digs down and doesn't let you have good shots and gets shot clock violations and executes the heck out of offense to get easy buckets. So, yeah, you have to take it to heart. You take it personally. We've got some work to do to get there, and I believe we can." I mean,
that's a hell of a lot different than, gosh, golly shucks, Wes Miller, who first got here, you know what I mean? Where he's talking about we need to go kick people's rear ends.
Yeah. I mean, sure, some people could say that's coach speak. That's, that's the type of response you want. But, I mean, when have we heard Wes say something so far this year, or, so far since he's been taken over as head coach, that he hasn't followed up on, or he hasn't at least started to show you glimpses of making whatever he said work. I mean, that's just he came in genuinely pissed last night to the press conference.
Yeah, because they got their ass kicked.
They did, and he completely opened up, and I wholeheartedly am confident in his message and his want to get to that level, and I think that's just it's a really good thing to hear after this, when certain coaches could be just doom and gloom, and I mean they gave it to us. They're a really good team. Like we've experienced that in the recent past. It's good to have that refreshing kind of just push in the midst of what was just a very terrible evening. Aside from that,
he tells you the truth post game. I've talked about it all year. Like there's no sugarcoating. There's no, beating around the bush. This is where we weren't good. This is where they killed us. I think last night's the first time I've ever disagreed with him really in a press conference.
Which part?
The part where he said Houston's no different than anything he's seen before. From the ACC or from when he was at UNCG, the teams that were at the top of that league. I disagree with that just because I think the way Houston's doing it right now is so unique. I think Baylor kind of set the mold for this last year, and they won a title with it. But it's a mix of old school and new school. And I guess you could maybe say Virginia, because their efficiency numbers were so good, but they play so slow that I don't think it matches with what I'm talking about in terms of they're long, they're aggressive, they know who they are, they beat the hell out of you, and they're also really skilled. They run good stuff. It's a combination of 1990s basketball with 2020s basketball, and I think until and it's funny because I thought Luke had the same problem when he got the job that first year. I don't think he had a respect for the American Athletic Conference from the outside that he learned real quick in that first year. I think there's some of that that's going on now, but more so just specifically Houston, because they're the only thing that's really different than what he's seen. So that's the only, but point being, his press conferences are great because he gives it to you straight.
Right.
And he's not, after a loss, he's pissed off, but he doesn't take it out on the reporters like some people used to do. And he doesn't try to hide behind coach speak. He just tells you exactly how he feels. I think that's great.
Yeah, it is. And before we wrap up the basketball talk, I do want to tie in. Well, first off, the next 7 games, they're all winnable. And sure, winnable is a weird statement to make because the team does look a lot different than they did in that 5-game stretch where shots were falling and everyone was getting involved and it seemed like they were really clicking and finding their groove. But still, the next 7 games, they all should be at least a toss-up or the Bearcats being favored. So I don't know. We'll see kind of how it shakes out, especially this week. It's 2 road games that road games in the AAC, road games in college basketball in general are always tough, but it's against the 2 worst teams arguably in the entire conference at South Florida and Tulsa. So
Tulsa's always a little tricky at their place.
Yeah.
But that's a Tulsa team that's not playing nearly as well as they were 3 weeks ago. And by well, I mean, we talked about it when they played Tulsa at home. All of their games were, 2-score games.
Right.
That has not been the case since then. They have not been playing well at all. But with Tulsa, obviously, you worry. Dry Horn just is at the 4 is a matchup problem that they don't have an answer for. Everybody that's had a really good 4, that's kind of an inside-outside mismatch guy, has given Cincinnati fits.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. I don't want to come out and say they're going to win all 7 of them heading into that final week where they go at Houston and then at SMU. But I mean, you just quick glance at KenPom; they're favored in every single game. 1-point dogs at UCF, but UCF's kind of crumbling. So I don't know. We'll see. Wednesday will be a big wake up call down in Tampa. But I want to talk about it.
You always find a reason to go to Tampa.
Yeah, you do.
Are you going?
I'm not. Middle of the week, I can't quite pull. That UCF game was kind of calling my name, but it's got senior night, that Saturday, a whole week before the season's over. Kind of strange, but so we'll see. Might not be any Florida trips for me this week or this year season.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know. RIP. But so here's the thing. Before we move on from basketball, I want to kind of bring the Isaiah Collier talk into this.
Timestamp.
Well, I don't know what to do with the timestamps. Like I can timestamp this.
Oh yeah,
this part.
True.
Yeah, I guess. Just timestamp this to now.
Are we still saying Yahoo or what was it?
We haven't. That was a test run. We were testing it. So we're not. If you want a test run, hit me up in the DMs. We'll test run and see. We'll try you out for the timestamps. See what you think.
Wahoo! Timestamp.
Oh, it was y'all's.
The Florence y'all's.
Y'all's timestamp.
No, man, it was timestamp, y'all.
Timestamp, y'all.
What is it? I don't know what's happening.
I don't know how long the other one was. So
yeah, who knows? Like 23 minutes or something like that. But yeah, so Isaiah Collier, obviously huge visit, 5-star, immediate impact player. Already trimmed his list to 7. Then Rayvon all of a sudden is a unofficial visitor there as well. And some rumblings amongst the fan base has been like, oh, why invite high-level recruits to a game like Houston, number 16 in the country. I mean, they got glimpses
because they want to come to that game.
Right. They got glimpses of the atmosphere. They saw a packed Fifth Third Arena. The theatrics were all there. Sure, the game wasn't as fun as it potentially could have been, but there were moments where you could feel that place shaking like it had been in recent years. So,
well, and Isaiah Collier's a smart kid. He's going to understand that when he gets here, that roster is going to look a lot different than it looked last night.
Right. Exactly.
So the one thing that, like I said yesterday, the one thing that you worry about is great players want to play with great players. And you're going to have to sell him on that vision of there's going to be great players here by the time you get here. We're just in year 1 and we're building towards that. And you get to be, the stamp of we're going to compete at this level. They've done a great job building the relationship with Isaiah. Travis Barnum talked to him today. He had good things to say about his visit. But Auburn and Alabama, that doesn't, they could have beat Houston by 15 and I'd still look at Auburn and Alabama and have the same thing to say. Don't feel great about going up against them.
That pesky pet way, So aside from that, though, there's so much more to a visit than just the game.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so I just don't think sure. A win would have been great. And the post-game celebration and the meal afterwards, everything is tasting a little better after a win. But I mean, there's just so much more that goes into it. Like you said, he had good things to say. And I'm sure it's not going to be the last time that he's on campus. It might not be in the official capacity or anything along those lines, but still it's just I wouldn't read too far into he came in and saw Cincinnati lose by 22.
They were playing the number 6 team in the country.
Right.
There was a good chance he understood they were, winning was not going to be easy for the Bearcats on Sunday night.
Like he said, he's a smart kid. I mean, he knows looking at, I mean, he knows looking at this team, if he's watched any UC games, he knows that they're not built the same way that Houston's built.
Correct.
He probably also might know that the Cincinnati team beat Illinois on a neutral court earlier in the year. They hung with Arkansas all the way until the end. So, it's college basketball, man. And Houston's a top. They're going to probably be top 5. They're going to probably continue to win on and be either a 1 seed or a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. So,
right,
it is what it is, man. But the greatest thing is that the fan base feels that yearn to get back to that level, which is awesome. And the fact that it was here not too long ago means that it can come right back as well. And all faith should be in Wes Miller, because look at this. He has Isaiah Collier and Raymond Griffin coming to the game. And sure, it's a big matchup and everything. You got Joe Mixon and not Tyler Boyd sitting courtside. It's just, I mean, you should be excited about that.
People were hitting me up like, that wasn't Tyler Boyd. And I'm like, I don't work for ESPN. I don't know what to tell you. I also did not think it was Tyler Boyd.
Who do you think gives that thumbs up? Like, yeah.
Who said it was?
The ESPN.
It's on the ESPN broadcast.
Oh, God.
It said Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd, like nameplates underneath them.
That was not Tyler Boyd.
No. Like, do they give the thumbs up and say, all right, I Googled it real quick. Yes.
Yeah, that's him. That's definitely him.
Fire it up.
Got him.
The thing is, you gotta type out that nameplate too before you throw it up on the broadcast. It's like,
nailed it.
Someone had a little bit too much confidence Sunday at 6:30 in the evening. So, but still, I don't know. Collier to just be in the place that they are right now with Collier this early in the Wes Miller tenure.
That first video, Aaron, was 23 minutes.
Okay.
So 40 minutes was the first 40 minutes was basketball talk. And just do the rest from there in your head. Math.
Got it.
Okay.
Good. Aaron's good at math.
He is.
Yeah.
I was a math major for about a year or so at Wright State, believe it or not.
I don't know how smart that move was, but it's pretty cool, man.
What do you do as a math major? Statistics or
you go teach?
You want to be a teacher? I could see you being a teacher. You'd be that cool high school teacher.
Sneaking into the closet, the supply closet to vape, like while the kids were doing their work.
Mr. Smith, what is all that smoke coming from the closet?
I remember in high school, people like the teachers used to just go out the side door.
Really?
Repeaters.
Yeah, they would do it right on campus. Like,
oh man,
right out the side door.
Not on my campus.
We had a smoking section in the high school.
That's crazy.
So
Inside
if you were
the high school,
if you were 18, you could just go out and repeaters right in the high school.
Oh man,
we do things a little differently in Kentucky.
There's another time.
Yeah, a lot of times I do think about the whole public school dynamic of high school. I never got to experience it, and I'm sure it would have opened a whole new world to me before I would have been ready for it. But hey, here we are. Aaron, we lost Chad.
He's back.
Okay, he's back. But aside from that, there you go. Oh, for the echo.
Keep getting the echo. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It goes away when you do that.
I know. If you reset, it goes away. So.
Interesting. But as we close out with high-level prospects potentially coming to Cincinnati, being heavily recruited by Cincinnati, let's talk about some high-level prospects that come from Cincinnati that are now being recruited and scouted by the NFL. That's right. Senior Bowl took place Saturday. I tell you what, man, those Bearcats put on quite a show. Quite
they
a
did.
show.
First, congratulations to Jerome Ford on the
awesome.
The
new
birth
addition.
Of his daughter. New addition.
Hashtag girl dad.
I just heard he pulled out. I thought it was for a similar, like Alec Pierce was wasn't feeling 100% on Thursday, so they pulled out. I thought it was.
There's
I thought
a
it
joke
was.
there.
I know there is. The baby pulled out. Yeah, there is. Opted out.
I'm not
Opted
touching
out.
that.
There.
I'm not
Opted
touching that.
out. So I thought it was a similar reasoning, but it was not. Apparently, he hopped in an Uber, Ubered to New Orleans, caught a flight to Orlando, and was there for the birth of his daughter. And congratulations to Jerome.
Yeah, instead of making cuts on the field, he was cutting the umbilical cord.
Oh my god,
That was so bad. That was Jim Nagy, right? Jim
That was Nagy, yeah.
that was so bad.
I liked it.
Of course you liked it. Of course you liked it.
No, but so you had Desmond Ritter, the riser, Kobe Bryant, the leader, Jerome Ford, the father, and Jay, the disruptor, Darian Beavers, the playmaker, Alec Pierce, the validator. What kind of was your guys' takeaway from the game? I mean, Dez obviously won offensive MVP, but for me, I kind of like seeing Jay get into the backfield and actually record some good counting stats, or at least be in the presence of recording them. The flag on Kobe was complete BS. I mean, kind of what were your guys' main takeaways coming just from the game itself?
I don't know. I was most pleased with Ritter kind of going out, and I mean, he was 4 of 6, and the one pass was just he sailed the one pass, but the other missed pass was not. It wasn't on him. That was on the running back for just dropping a little dump pass. But he looked good out there. He had 2 touchdowns. He got the offensive player of the game. He ran 2 touchdown drives, the length of the field, more or less. Looked poised, looked just as good as, Kenny Pickett or Malik
Willis.
Yeah, Malik Willis out there. Like he looked good. And I think that you add that with the practices that he had all week, that's fantastic for Dez, even though I'm still seeing mock drafts sending him in the second round under all those guys. But
I think he's going to be in a position to push his way into the first. I mean, if you look the way things are going right now, there's so many teams that need a quarterback, and we know with Dez, he's going to ace the interview. Bring Dez into your facility and sit him down with your coaches and have him get on the whiteboard and talk offense. Like, he's going to crush that part. And now he has on tape, a couple really good days of practice at the Senior Bowl. He played really well in the game. That's going to be a situation where, like, Dez is going to improve his stock as this thing goes on, because there's not a slam dunk. There's not a guy in this process that you look at that you're like, yep, that's the dude. So it's going to be the intangibles. Like, they're going to pick guys apart. And when they're picking guys apart, nobody is going to come out cleaner on the full evaluation than Desmond Ritter. That's just the reality of it.
And how about Dez? That the first day, all you were reading on Twitter and things was about how much he struggled and how he wasn't hitting his passes. He was fumbling snaps, and just everything was going wrong for him. And in my mind, I was just like, okay, well, like Dez always does, he's gonna right the ship, figure it out, and then in the end, he's gonna probably end up winning the football game. And sure enough, there he was, offensive MVP and winner of the Senior Bowl. So, as he's done numerous times. Aside from that, Jay, Darian, it's kind of a weird game for Darian because you can't blitz, and I feel like that's kind of where Darian's going to be utilized a lot at the next level is on the blitz.
Yeah, but it forced him to show what he could do in coverage, which he did well. I mean, I think that was we know he can blitz. We know he can be, a really good 4-3 linebacker playing downhill. but seeing him play in coverage, seeing him play back a little bit, I think helped out his stock too.
And then Alec Pierce. Aaron, Alec didn't play in the game. He did leave early, this, that, and the other. But from the days that he was there, you saw the reps that a lot of scouts were saying. He looks good, very fluid, very strong off the line of scrimmage, point of attack.
All those same words they use every year.
Our man Alec Pierce. What did you kind of think of from what you were able to see? Obviously not playing in the game, but leading up to the game through practices of what Alec brought.
He looked crisp, but he didn't look any different than anybody who's watched this team already knew. Like we all knew that's who Alec Pierce is. He goes to the highest point of the ball and plucks it over these shorter corners that can't get to the highest point where he is. I mean, he's got an incredible vertical. He can do that on the go routes that he's kind of known for at this point, but you also get to see some of the cuts that he can make and run those like slants or those outs or posts and those are the type of plays that you probably aren't going to have a ton of film on from the games if you're these NFL scouts, but it's things that they finally got to put on tape if they didn't already have stuff from practice.
Majay, obviously, and Kobe. Let's touch on both of them. Obviously, Kobe, of course, expected, wins the cornerback of the week, voted on by the wide receivers. So, I mean, Mamba Island alive and well in Mobile. Pass interference call was bogus. It was trash.
That ball was underthrown by 20 yards. Give me a break. It
was trash. But still, I mean, a good week from Kobe. Majay had his moments as well. Good week from Majay. Obviously, the weight thing is going to be talked about a lot, but it just seemed as if they positioned themselves to move up on draft boards as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We know kind of what Majay is at this point. I mean, we've seen him, but again, the national guys got to see him. Kind of, I mean, he didn't. Chad brought it up on the nightcap. He never, when he was getting to the quarterback's never been an issue. It's going through the quarterback and finishing the sack. But he causes a ton of disruption, and if he can just finally get the quarterback down, that's going to be where he starts to eat. And unfortunately, there's still a little disconnect there for whatever reason, because again, he was disrupting. He's getting hands on the quarterback, but not quite the full sack.
Yeah, true. Chad, anything on Kobe?
He looked good. I mean, I think he acclimated himself well. He got beat on that one corner route, a little bit of a double move. The guy went inside, took him back outside for a completion. But I think the two routes he got beat on to an extent were both from more like slot guys as opposed to outside guys, which, the short area quickness is not really Kobe's forte. So the things he does well, he did well. And he was really good in practice throughout the week. I like where he's positioning himself. If I had to guess, I would guess probably a third round guy, which, considering like he wasn't getting any talk a year ago,
right? He
made himself a lot of money coming back to school.
Yeah, made a big time money move, as the youngsters might say. But one last thing on Dez. What, Aaron? One last thing on Dez. How frustrating was that drive? The opening drive that, well, I guess the first one, I think they might have gone 3 and out, but that second long drive, like, gosh, that was
where they had a 5-yard penalty at the start of every first down.
And then they just kept running the ball over and over again. It's just like,
well, I mean, yeah, but they were running for like 8 yards a carry when they were running.
Let Dez cook. This is the Seattle Seahawks.
Calm down, Brent.
I mean, Jesus. I made this joke with Chad, but his junior year starting at quarterback kind of prepared him for that moment, right? Like,
Well, you're not Michael Warren. What is this?
No, I just mean like just all the offensive line false starts. Like,
Oh, that too. Yeah. Whew. Gosh. Yeah. The number one most penalized team in the country. Man, that was fun for a while. But yeah, I mean, Senior Bowl, great showing. But probably the biggest talk of the NFL draft when it comes to Bearcats outside of the Senior Bowl was the fact that Sauce is now being considered the consensus number one cornerback by numerous different draft outlets. Aaron, that in theory means he's pretty much a lock for a top 10 pick.
You say that, and I mean, there was an analyst, I was reading his stuff. I got an alert from ESPN earlier today, and it was like this guy's mock draft 2.0. It wasn't McShay, it wasn't Kuiper. I'm not sure who the guy was. I don't recall. But you had to have like the ESPN Plus membership to actually read it. And he had Sauce going to Philly. And Sauce was taken after the kid from LSU. So while you say that, like, I don't know that he's necessarily the consensus number one corner, but there's definitely a lot of talk around it.
He's moving. Like the thing with Stingley, he had a great freshman year.
Yeah.
And that
His
about
sophomore year, they were literally the worst pass defense in the country. The worst. Last. And then this year he was hurt.
Right.
He's had one great year, one bad year, and 1 year where he didn't play at all. And you're gonna take him over Sauce?
I wouldn't.
And what Sauce has put on the field every week in a pass-happy league? I don't know about that.
And I think when all these NFL teams do see that true length that Sauce has at the combine and at the pro day, especially if he does weigh in at that over 200, like, or right at 200, like he has been all season, they're going to just be like, wow, okay. Yeah. I mean, come on. The tape matches what we're seeing right now.
I mean, I think the biggest thing for him is going to be, like we've talked about from the beginning. No, the biggest thing for Sauce is definitely, without question, going to be his 40.
His 40? Yeah. Yeah. And I think we said the same thing about Kobe too, as far as 40 goes. But yeah, Sauce for a while was just, can he fill out that lanky frame? And I mean, numerous times last year, he just looked big. He looked like he was filling it out really well. And I'm sure he's heard from numerous different people how to, to keep on keeping that weight up and looking good for the combine and everything along those ends. So yeah, I mean, if the 40 translates out, why not? I mean, when you've got McShay saying that
if he drops a 4.42 or something in that, like right at 4.4 or sub 4.4 into the 4.3 range, he's going to be the first corner taken, because then the speed concerns are going to be eliminated, and he's got the size and the length. Like, come on.
What's your guess on? Just a random. He looks fast. I mean, he looks like he's got strides. I don't know what it'll time out at, but I don't think he's gonna scare him.
I guess he's a low 4.4.
Yeah,
but the problem is if you drop a 4.5, then they're gonna say you can't keep up with these elite, 4.3, 6.3 guys that are running on the outside around the NFL right now.
I mean,
you just hand them the Alabama tape real quick.
I think it depends too where you put Calvin Austin, like, because he shut him down too. So I don't know. I mean, if you put him as one of those guys that is considered one of those top guys, because by all counts that I've seen, he is considered, up there in the wide receiver ranks, but he shut him down too this year. So
James Williams, I mean, just throw on the tape, brother. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, anything more on this Senior Bowl draft talk? Obviously, we're going to continue that talk for quite a while, but any more on this, guys?
Not too much. I mean, they acquitted themselves very well. They definitely showed that they belonged. Like we talked about on the nightcap, like on Saturday, I think. What you were afraid, like worst case scenario is they go and they just all didn't, or, a couple of them didn't look
right
up to what the draft boards were saying, and I don't think there was any of them that walked out of there worse for the wear. So that's a huge plus.
Yeah, no one hurt their stock.
No, and I think you could argue that every single one of them helped it. So
I think you're right.
It's awesome. It is awesome to see. Speaking of helping stock, more numbers came out from the Bank of Brady, I guess we can call it. Speed, absolute speed, man. Drew Donnelly, numero uno this week. Trey Tucker, and then of course Shimon Mateer's still there. JQ Hardaway's still there. Chuck McClellan as well, and obviously these change. We don't know the exact yardage or what the drill was for these speeds, but man, we've seen Drew Donnelly, we've seen Trey Tucker, we've seen Shimon Mateer, and we've seen JQ Hardaway right all at the top so far each week of this offseason. And you got to start to see this shift of these underclassmen that are starting to really make a case just based off what the numbers we see. They might be cracking in. You're going to see a lot of new faces, and it might be a Drew Donnelly. It might be JQ Hardaway out there. What's your guys' takeaway just from obviously just seeing pure numbers standpoint? And obviously, on top of it, JQ Hardaway was also one of the best in the weight room last week. Numerous mentions as well of Drew Donnelly. It just seems as if it's refreshing to see this sort of the uprising of all the youngsters, because of course you see Tyler Scott still in there, Ethan Wright as well. So I don't know, you guys' take on just this uprising. I think two names kind of stick out the most to me, but how about for you guys?
Go ahead,
For me, it's still the fact that Shimon Mateer is up there in the top 3. Like, it's not a fluke that he was up there last week.
It wasn't a broken catapult.
I can't with your jokes tonight. Oh my god. I don't know. I mean, it's also good to see some young guys in there, like a JQ, like a Miles Montgomery, like a Will Pauling, even Tyler Scott. Good to see these young guys, Drew Donnelly especially, obviously. But we already knew he had speed coming in here, so that one's not a huge surprise. But yeah, I mean, having a tight end clocking in at your number 2 or your number 3 week after week at his size and speed and height rather, I'm all for it and cannot wait to see him on the field in spring ball.
The next wave is coming.
Oh, tsunami.
Donnelly, Hardaway, Shimon, Will Pauling, Miles Montgomery, Todd Bump. No, Tyler Scott's not the next wave, Aaron. Tyler Scott was a significant contributor this year.
He's the wave that we've been riding.
Right. He's this wave. Like, I wouldn't include him in I'm talking about guys we haven't seen.
Okay.
Right? Like guys that we're not like we don't know what they look like full time.
Fair enough.
On the field. Donnelly, Mateer, Hardaway, Montgomery, Pauling, Threats, Bumpus. They're the next wave. It's right there on that screen. That's exciting.
It is. It is. And a player who has constantly been on every one of these lists so far throughout the first 3 weeks has been Trey Tucker. What do you think it'll take, or at what point will we finally start to see Trey Tucker's name mentioned in the talks of a potential NFL career? I think he fits the mold of what a lot of teams have, and that is just that absolute speed player. You look at Tyreek Hill is obviously the number one choice when it comes to that thought that I'm speaking of, but I mean Trey has just wheels that are next level, and he is a workout warrior, as Brady has just constantly mentioned to us. What does it take him just kind of exploding as a receiver this season to kind of really jump on the map? Or what do you think it is when it comes to him? Because obviously he's got strength. His speed is unmatched.
They just have to put the ball in his hands. They never got him the ball enough. And I think that if you can give Trey Tucker the opportunity to make someone miss, he's all of a sudden in your secondary, like deep into your secondary. It's a matter of just making one person miss before he's on that next level. And then all he has to do is make your safety miss, and we'll see you later.
Okay, I'll ask Aaron, because I hear this all the time. They don't get him the ball enough. Who are you taking the ball away from?
Last year, I don't know who you took the ball away from. Maybe Michael Young.
He was hurt for the last 6 weeks. He didn't play.
I get it. I mean, you could say the same thing for Josh Wiley, that he needed the ball more. I mean, I totally understand, but I think that if you get Trey Tucker the ball roughly about, 6-7 times in a game, which I don't think is crazy talk. I'm not saying that he needs 10, 12 touches.
I'm just saying, the answer to he needs the ball more is always who's getting the ball less.
Well, I mean, you had 2 games where Ford was out. I feel like there were some extra touches he could have had at that point in time. Again, if you're talking about Michael Young being out, there's some extra touches there. So I don't know. I mean,
weren't those 2 of the best offensive games of the season when Ford was out? I think that was after they were. No, that was while they were struggling a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe you're right there. I'll give you that one. You got one, Aaron. I gave you one.
Point.
I don't give you points very often. I gave you a point.
Should I timestamp that so I can?
You should. Aaron gets a point.
Write about it in my journal later.
Yeah, Aaron
timestamp, y'all.
Aaron gets a point. Good job. Good boy. Good boy.
But I mean, can you guys hop on that train though? The Trey Tucker needs to get. I mean, you just sure he's a little slight of height. I don't know what he's.
I mean, for the NFL, he's a little small. But here's the thing: I'll tell you, that dude is tougher than a $2 steak. Right. He is a tough sumbitch. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. He's gonna have a chance. Now that he's getting up there, he's going to be one of the leaders of the team. I think I'm interested to see. Gino has talked about, right? Yeah. More in the screen game, more action, getting the ball out on the perimeter. Mm-hmm. If you're going to get the ball out on the perimeter more, you would think one of the main objectives would be to get the ball in the hands of Trey Tucker more.
Yeah. And if you guys remember back, one of the 2 quarterbacks that are going to be vying for the starting role, Ben Bryant, he completed a deep ball his freshman year at Marshall to one Trey Tucker. And it was a beautiful pass.
That's an interesting point in that those 2 spent an entire year on that second unit.
They did.
Right? So those 2 spent an entire year working together. That's a valid point when you start to look he threw a lot of balls to Tyler Scott, threw a lot of balls to Trey Tucker, threw a lot of balls to Jaden Thompson. So there is going to be some incoming chemistry between Ben Bryant and some of these younger receivers. Not obviously Will Pauling and Drew Donnelly, because he was gone. Ben was gone by the time they got here.
Well, and heck, he threw it to Lenny and Josh as well when Josiah was here. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Crypt Keeper sees at least one Bearcat being drafted by Andy Reid. That's a safe bet. Andy Reid, big fan of the Bearcats.
Really?
Being a big fan of the Bearcats has been very good to Andy Reid. Let's say that.
There we go. Is there so what? Continue the workouts? Did we get a definite start of spring practice yet? Do we know?
I've got an estimate. Somebody told me, and I was a little surprised. It's early.
Really?
We're not far from the start of spring practice.
Because it's normally right around senior day in basketball.
Close.
That's what it was 2 years ago before I think literally right before the Coco hit. It was the same day as senior day was the start of spring practice.
Early March is the first week of March is kind of what I'm hearing.
Okay. Hey,
so
right around the corner.
We're already almost to spring football.
Baby, that's exciting. That is absolutely exciting. A couple other things I saw that was also on another one of the things that Brady posted. Aaron, it was the other speed one where they kind of rise up in the tiers. Saw Dante Corleone show some wheels yet again. We don't know what the drill was. I'm sure it wasn't a 100-yard dash, but it still seen Dante's name being tossed around there.
I think you're going to see him in the rotation at for sure.
Yeah,
like especially if they continue with the 3-man front, you're going to see the Godfather plugging some holes in the middle of that 3-man front. I think.
Oh yeah, and then your boy Eric Phillips getting a rise as well. And then you see Chris Scott, and Chris Scott's a name that I think really has the potential to also jump into that 2 deep and really make a name for himself this upcoming season. Because I mean, you saw him on the field a couple times towards the end of the year, and that just means he's probably doing really well in practice and deserves to get some reps out on the field. So, I mean, yet again, you're seeing that wave of new talent that's going to be out on the field taking over.
It's coming. It's coming. Look at that list. Chris Scott, Amorion Smith, Cam Jr., Jack Dingle, Eric Phillips, Dante Corleone. Like, there's a lot of new names. This is gonna be such a fun season. Such a fun off season because there's just so many new guys to track. So many and there's going to be some that we're not even talking about right now that are all of a sudden going to pop up.
I mean,
I'm so excited.
High level recruits too. So I mean,
I'm so excited.
It'll be fun. It's gonna be a lot.
And
of
I just can't hide it.
Can't wait.
I can't wait for that one. There's been a little bit of something since we last had the BBP when it comes to football recruiting. Well, and anything more on the team, guys, before we one last thing. The coaching staff was finally wrapped all up. Chad, you and Dave kind of broke down the press conference with all the coaches, and I mean, all I can say is like, man, each one of those coaches, they definitely seem to get it. I mean, Gino is hilarious. Numerous times I was like dying laughing when he was up there, but all those new coaches get it. And then Nate Leton just was announced also earlier this week as the tight ends coach.
Wow.
So
UC hasn't made it official, but I reported it.
Okay, there we go.
First to report, me.
And then Mick just put up Clifton Notes, it's VIP, so join that and see what Nate can do on the recruiting trail. But Chad, from what you're able to gather, tell us a little bit more about Nate Leton as far as you can tell.
Offensive lineman. The people that know him love him as a football mind. They really, really respect his knowledge of the game. So I've heard nothing but good things about the potential of Nate Leton. I think it's a bit of a peek inside where Gino wants to go. I think Gino feels like he's got the passing game pretty much under control, and he wants as much help in the run game as possible. That's why you bring in a former O-line guy to coach tight ends, right? You want to make sure your guys are as sound as humanly possible in the passing or in the running game. And also when you leave them in to block, when you leave them in to chip, if you're going to work the screen game, you're going to want your tight ends to be able to get down the field and make some plays in space with their blocking. But so far, as Mick has in his article and talking to some coaches around the region, that have worked with or been around Nate Leton as he has gone through this process. I think he's going to be a good addition. Seems like a sharp dude. Looking forward to seeing how that relationship continues to develop, because that's a tough spot. Remember, say what you will about Mike Denbrock as an offensive coordinator. Mike Denbrock, the tight ends coach, was elite.
Right.
Kyle Rudolph, Tyler Eifert, Josiah DeGuara, Josh Wiley, Lenny Taylor. Like, that man could coach tight ends at an elite level. So Nate's got some big shoes to fill for job one.
And that fits seamlessly into the most recent commitment that the Bearcats have gotten. Aaron, timestamp y'all. But aside from that, what are your thoughts?
I told you we weren't doing the y'all tonight.
That's sponsored by me, the owner of What's Up, Y'all. So
okay, sure.
Kamari Anderson, top 25 prospect of program history, a high level 3-star, the second highest rated recruit in the class that currently ranks 10th overall in the nation. And sure, obviously that's going to, everything's fluid, but still, Aaron, when this was kind of forming together, when everything was coming out, and then all of a sudden Kamari bidded his commitment to the Bearcats. Your thoughts on landing a huge tight end out of Detroit? Just another fantastic move, getting a player from Michigan as well.
I mean, we've talked about it on the nightcap, but I mean, we have a huge hole with Wiley and Lenny's last year being this season. And sure, Shimon Ter's here, but after him, what you got? What you got in the cupboard right now? So no, it's definitely a huge addition where you needed a dude. Obviously, between him and Jackson McGohan, that's two guys there in the cupboard. This guy being more comparable to a Lenny style tight end, whereas McGohan's probably closer to a Josh Wiley style tight end. So you got a guy that can run routes and catch a ball with throwing in your chip blocks. And then you got a guy who's going to be maybe more of a lineman first, blocking on those run plays and things, but also being able to go down and catch the ball. So it's definitely a great addition for the team. A guy who's the 21st tight end in the country.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. Great get.
Yeah. Huge get.
Getting
Chad,
a top 10 player from Michigan is a big deal, guys. Like, Michigan's an extension of that 300-mile radius, right? And we've seen them be effective in Chicago. We've seen them be effective in Indy and Indiana as a whole. They've done a little bit in Michigan. And obviously, Sauce changes. We've talked about this. Sauce changes everything in Michigan because he's such a dude that kids in Michigan look up to. Because they see that, like, they could be him, right? They were under recruited and, nobody believed in them and whatever. And they look up to Ahmad big time. So you've now got a couple coaches that have deep ties to Michigan. And you go into Michigan and get one of the best recruits out of the state. That says a good deal about where things are headed with this program, because that's another one of those things, man, that, like, as you're watching the rise, you just never thought, like, oh yeah, they'll go into Michigan and get top 10 kids.
Right.
No, they won't. Yeah, now they are. We're dealing with life around UC football being looked at in just a light that we all kind of never thought was possible, right?
Right.
You think Luke takes just a little extra smirk to himself when he sees a Michigan kid coming to Cincinnati?
A Michigan kid whose brother plays for Michigan.
Right.
And who Michigan very seriously wanted. Don't let all that bullshit last week fool you. Oh, I don't know if he was a take.
Nah.
Gobbledygook.
Does he hop in Harbaugh's DMs? Like, gotcha.
No. That's not
Yes,
how it works,
Crypt
Aaron.
Keeper, Wiley's back next year. But, guys, there's a recent player today, and it's the recruiting news, the hot recruiting news of the day, if you will. A player who would come in if he were to eventually commit to the Bearcats would be considered the highest ranked recruit in this already highly rated 2023 class, and that's Anthony Brown. He's been on campus quite a lot, and it's always interesting seeing his name on the list to be as a campus visitor, and then next to his name is Minnesota commit. Well, that next to the name saying Minnesota commit has been removed. He decommitted today, wide receiver from Springfield High School. I mean, probably something to just keep an eye out on, right?
Yeah, this one's going to be a battle because there's a lot of people that want Anthony Brown. He's visited Penn State, he's visited Wisconsin, like Ohio State is sniffing around. There, this one's not going to be. This isn't just like a foregone conclusion as we've seen with some kids where UC's recruiting them hard, they decommit, and it's just a matter of days until they commit to UC. Is UC in a really good spot? Yeah. But I think there's probably 2 or 3 other schools that feel like they're in a really good spot as well. But, like UC is doing great work with guys of that ilk, 5'10", shifty, that's kind of becoming a strength for UC right now. So guys are paying attention to that. Another kid, his brother is on scholarship playing wide receiver at Minnesota. And he's not going to Minnesota. Like I know the Minnesota guys still think because his brother's here, Minnesota's still in a strong position.
Don't count us out yet.
Kids don't decommit to recommit. That ain't how this works.
Right.
That ain't how none of this works. But UC will be a definite factor here, but they're gonna have to do some work still. Mike Brown has built a great relationship with the kid. As you said, the kid has been on campus multiple times, including the Hometown Heroes event. But still a lot of work to be done to get this one across the finish line.
He was at several games. I know I saw him on the sidelines wandering around.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a high-level talent. He'd be top 10 prospect of all time, highest rated recruit in this class as it stands right now. But obviously, it's going to be a long one. But still, some news that hit the stream today, and you got to at least mention it because there's smoke there. Obviously, there's not a fire yet.
There's definitely a relationship for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and to get the 36th receiver in the country, the 5th best player in Ohio, that's a big deal.
Another top 10 player in Ohio, another top 25 player in Ohio. That would give you 6 top 25 players in Ohio. That's a good percentage of the top 25 players in the state. Aaron, you're the math major. You understand.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Do it quick, Aaron. Good numbers there. Good numbers.
I mean, 6 of 25. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Gosh.
That's 24%.
Oh my God. Wow. Thank you.
24% of the top 25.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
You're welcome.
That's why we have you here.
I'm good for something.
I really think you're great, Mr. Smith. But yeah, so obviously news. Keep track of it. Aside from that, what is recruiting in the 2022 class is done. Obviously, the transfer portal is still the transfer portal.
They'll look at a couple other options as we go through this thing. That's the nice thing is I don't have to answer definitively now. When somebody says, can they go after this kid? The answer is yes, they can. Will they? I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. But last year, the answer was no. They're done. and now I don't have to say they're done, which is good for business.
I
like not having to say they're done. I don't want to have to tell you guys that the answer is a definitive no. So that'll be nice as we go through the spring and summer.
Doors open.
Lots of TBD.
Yeah.
Hey, I like a good TBD. Speaking of TBD, what are your guys' plans for this Sunday? Obviously, 2 big basketball games before then, but this is the last time the three of us will talk on the official airwaves of the BCJ Podcast Network, BBP. Super Bowl plans. Aaron, Chad, great time to be a fan of the Cincinnati Bengals.
I always have a little Super Bowl party. It's never anything crazy, but my dad comes over, a couple friends stop by, do a nice little spread, cook up some food. We were at Costco today. I'm excited. We bought a new party dip.
God, I love Costco.
Are you guys fans of like street corn?
Yeah.
The cojita cheese and the seasonings.
I can take it or leave it, but that's just me.
We got a street
elote.
Huh? Elote, yes. Street corn. We got a street corn dip.
Oh.
Yeah, that I'm pretty excited about, and some non-bread dippers.
Yeah.
Big fan of non-bread. Non-bread is excellent.
Their non-bread dippers are fantastic.
Yeah, we got a whole big container of them. So
that's the only way they sell them.
Yeah, I'm excited about those.
Bigger the better.
I haven't come up with the menu yet. I'm not sure what I'm gonna cook. So
smoke up some meats.
Maybe the weather doesn't look too bad, so that's a possibility.
Pulled pork nachos.
I love pulled pork nachos. Don't get me wrong. I don't know that
well with the street corn.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a main per se.
Yeah. You definitely have to have Skyline Dip, right? It's
depends on how many. Like this year, it might be a necessity because the Bengals are in it.
Right.
I usually do like the jalapenos. You hollow them out. You put the cream cheese. You wrap them in bacon.
Poppers.
But I take it a little extra step, and I sprinkle the bacon with brown sugar.
Oh,
to give it the sweet to go with the heat. We do a bagel dip that Kelsey loves, so we'll have to do that because she'll insist and force us to do it. The bagel dip is just cream cheese and hot pepper jelly. It's simple, but really, really, really good. If you want to throw that on your menu, your party menu. But I haven't decided on the main yet. I haven't decided on what the feature dish is going to be for the Super Bowl. It's got to be a big one, right? Like the Bengals are in the Super Bowl.
Bengals are in the Super Bowl.
I got to go hard in the paint.
The Bengals are in the Super Bowl. Aaron, you'll be back in Cincinnati.
Yep.
Are you gracing
hanging
your
out
presence?
with moms?
Hanging out at mom's.
There you go.
What's the Smith family menu look like for a Super Bowl party?
My sister and my girlfriend have commandeered away the menu options from my mother as she prepared everything last week. So I know that there's some sliders of some sort. I know that there's going to be plenty of dips.
Sliders might be a good idea. That might be strong.
Just buy the Hawaiian rolls, lay it down.
Yep, that's what they're doing, and put. I think they're doing like the just simple like ham and cheese. With like the butter on top and throw them in the oven and call it a day on that. But all I know is there's going to be plenty of dips, which super excited about. There's going to be wings, super excited about, and some slider action. Outside of that, I love surprises. Like I don't know, I'm just huge on surprises, so I haven't really been picking brains too much on what actually is going to be happening.
You joke around with me that I'm 5. You are just as 5 as I am.
Oh, I'm a giant child. Like I will never argue that. Come on now, everyone who knows me knows that.
You know what I do when I visit my parents and we're ordering food? I will literally go to a different room or plug my ear. I don't hear what they're ordering, so I'm surprised when it shows up. So, Aaron, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling, Galactic Fried Chicken. Get a box of tendies for the party.
I went today. I got sauce. So
What'd
excited.
you get?
I got the 3 tenders and I got the mashed potatoes this time.
Mashed potatoes are outstanding.
I would have gotten the fries if I had been eating there, but I got it to go. So
Fries don't keep well, yeah.
No, fries don't keep well. The potatoes were
the only way you get fries to go is if you
a fryer, and you can throw them in the air fryer, like right when you get home.
Yeah,
probably could have done that, but I was driving all the way up to Mainville from Galactic, and
I'm just saying that's the best. If you're gonna
can't have them
fries
fresh,
to
right?
go, you bring them home, you throw them in the air fryer. They only take 3-4 minutes to
Otherwise, you burn them
to crisp back up, right?
Yeah.
Well, guys, just quick prediction. Just score and quick prediction because we got to hop into the mailbag after this. Because obviously, your score quick prediction might change, Aaron, when you go to the PTP and Chad when you go to the BCJ pod. But for here on the BBP pod, your BBP Super Bowl prediction.
I don't know how you pick against Joe Burrow.
At this point, you can't, right?
Yeah. I'm expecting
or Evan
massive
McPherson
levels.
at this point.
Yeah. I'm expecting somehow for it to be a total like Cincinnati gets their heartbreak that they've been waiting for in some way, shape, or form until I'm proven wrong and they're hoisting the trophy. But I don't know how you pick against Joe Burrow. Although the more you look at that Rams roster, holy shit. Like they've got so much talent everywhere that it's insane.
Well, your prediction.
I don't have a score yet. I'm taking the Bengals, but I don't know what the score. Like I haven't settled on that yet.
Fair. Aaron?
I'm saying 30-27 Bengals.
For some reason, maybe I'm crazy, Aaron. I think it's more low scoring than people are wanting to believe, just because that Rams defense is really, really good, and the Bengals defense has been outstanding in the playoffs.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. Let's say this: I wouldn't be surprised if it's a very low scoring first half that heats up in the second half.
I agree.
Where then in the second, like a 13-10 halftime score that heats up in the fourth quarter, something like that.
I don't think that either team really gets much past that 30 mark. I think Stafford's going to probably throw about 2 picks because he's, if not 3, because he's errant. Has been all season. He actually led the league, I believe, in interceptions this year. So I don't know. Joe Burrow he's been cooking, and he has not had a big game in this playoffs, really. I mean, we say that he had a 350-yard game, but he hasn't had the touchdowns.
Right.
So I think this is where they're going to try and double team Chase. And if that's the case, I believe their number 2 defensive back is 5'9", I think. And T. Higgins is 6'4". How are you going to defend T. Higgins with somebody who's 5'9"? What?
Yeah.
Just don't see it.
Joe Burrow looks just so calm, so confident, and
he's made for this shit, man.
Yeah, it's like he's been there before. Like he's back at LSU, going to the national championship. This isn't the Super Bowl. It is very strange, and it's awesome to see. And Cincinnati deserves it. And the Rams have scored more than 30 points only once since January. It's a very winnable game, and I think that the Bengals come out on top. And knock on wood, but it just has that feeling of it, just really has that feeling.
Either way, there's going to be a Bearcat with a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, I like that, Aaron. Back to the 513shirts.com baby mailbag. Aaron?
They haven't paid for February.
Okay. Back to the no shirts.com.
It's just the Bearcat bounce mailbag.
back to the BrentShirts.com BBP mailbag.
This whole podcast tonight, man. It's been a ride. Goodness.
I'll just wait till we get to the basketball portion of this mailbag. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm not answering any of these questions.
That sounds good for the show. This should be a lot of fun. So the first question coming at you from the football portion of the mailbag. If there were to be a shocking 9 players drafted this year, who would those extra 2 players be beyond the top 7 that are regularly discussed? Those being Desmond Ridder, Maje, Jerome Ford, Alec Pierce, Brian
Beavers,
Cook, Kobe, Sauce.
Yeah. And yeah, that's 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Brooks would be 1.
Right.
I don't know that there's a 9 because both tight ends stayed. Like the assumption that they might be able to get close to 10 was if Josh and Lenny were in the draft. Without Josh and
Blanco.
A 7th round flyer? I mean,
maybe.
He
would probably be the next best, like, of guys, of guys that are in the draft.
Right.
He would be probably 9th on the list. I could see somebody taking a flyer on Brooks as a 3 tech in a 4-3 defense.
And I think in
I
those
just
later
don't know
rounds,
that there's a 9th.
You're probably looking for someone that can help you on special
You're looking for
teams.
Yeah, and you're looking for upside, like
Right.
Maybe a guy that you could like. The problem with Joel is I think Joel is who he is.
Joel is who he right, exactly.
That's not an upside guy.
I mean, there aren't many players outside of that.
Yeah, I don't know who would be 9.
I mean, who else even is there? I hate to say that, but Vinny McConnell,
Yeah,
Michael Young.
yeah.
I mean, it kind of
Ryan Royer, long snap supreme.
Let's go. Let's go.
Cole Smith after the good finish.
Pump it up.
Some team might be like, hey, something's cooking with the kickers in Cincinnati. Look at Evan McPherson on the Bengals, and then they see Cole Smith 2 for 2.
All right,
yeah.
I think it's time.
No. Okay,
time to move on.
Next.
This really could be a question for any of the mailbags, so I just picked one. What is your take on UC's Big 12 readiness from a facilities, staff/administration, and performance standpoint? In what areas do you see us as immediate contenders to be tops in the league, and what are our biggest gaps?
All of them are gaps, honestly. And I don't say that to take a shot at UC, but they've been playing from behind, right? Like they're trying to play catch up. The only thing that really is, I think, ready is the performance of the football team.
Right.
We'll see what the locker room looks like. We'll see what when we get the renderings for the football facility. We'll see what that looks like.
I mean,
right now they've got work to do.
Fifth Third Arena's up there.
Fifth Third Arena, yeah, the Fifth Third Arena's there. Nippert Stadium's there. Like that, that is a. When you walk into that place, you're like, wow, this is a pretty sweet place.
Yeah.
So I'll give you those 2.
But man, the
staff
bubble.
administration, staff and administration. I think John Cunningham's a high major AD.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Fickell, I think, is one of the best football coaches in the country. Wes Miller is the winningest basketball head coach under 40. So from a staff standpoint, they're where they need to be. Now, do they need to be better in terms of support staff pay, depth of commitment to that side of things? Yeah, there's work to do there. There are a lot of things that are where they need to be in terms of they'll enter the Big 12 kind of middle of the pack. Like what you're afraid of is like you can't come in and be at the bottom of the league and everything, right? And now you have to build your way up. I don't think that's where they're at. but I think middle of the pack is about where they're at in terms of the preparation and the awareness and ability. Still plenty of work to do.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be your mindset. I think your mindset has to be, we have work to do. Because if you feel like you're going in like at the end of your journey, you're wrong. You're not doing it right.
McAfee ragged on the bubble a little bit today. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's terrible.
I know. Bengals have to go practice at the bubble where the women's lacrosse team was on the field before, and ultimate frisbee intramurals is on afterwards. It's like, okay.
Well, but that's stupid. That's just McAfee being McAfee and getting laughs.
Right.
Yeah, it's the on-campus indoor practice facility at UC. Of fucking course, the women's lacrosse team is practicing there.
So here's my next question. If we're going to bring that up, like the Steelers and Pitt share an indoor practice facility.
Yeah,
like
shut up, Pat.
If the Bengals are going to be using it, like it's not terribly, it's closer than some of these teams that have built actual indoor practice facilities. So why would you have a practice facility all the way out in like Harrison or some crazy shit where there's actually land? Because there isn't land downtown to even build a damn facility if we're all things being equal here. So I don't know. I'm so sick and tired of this old.
There's land where those practice fields are to build a facility.
Yeah, but then you don't have the practice fields outside. So I guess
why do you need practice fields outside if you?
Because that's where you play the games. Why do you need to practice inside during the summer? Get out of here. I'm over this.
It's hotter than shit.
That's fine. That's where you play the games. Get used to it. It's Cincinnati. Blue collar town.
That's why the rest of the league laughs at the Bengals.
Well, I laugh at them. We're in the Super Bowl.
The dumbest part was like, oh, they practice next to a concrete facility. Like, okay.
And?
Like, it's not even close to the practice field. It just happens to also be down on the river.
I
love Pat, but I thought that today was silly. It's
just tired.
It was fodder.
Right.
I did want to point out that we thought we named 7 of the guys that are going to be drafted. Sauce, Ritter, Myjai Ford, Pierce, Kobe, Beavers, and Cook. That's actually 8. So Brooks would be the 9th if
yeah, okay.
We're talking about that. So
Brooks would be the 9th.
We did more homework than necessary, I guess. So next question is going to be in the basketball portion of the bag.
Sorry. Breaking out. I can't hear you guys. What?
Oh.
Hello?
We'll see you tomorrow, Chad. I'll handle the basketball from here on out.
We apparently had 4 comments since we started recording as well. But I see it's Chad going back and forth with people mostly. So, make the case for giving Vic more than 13 minutes. Is he part of the big leap in performance we need next year as a starter, or do you see him coming off the bench in 23-24? Personally, I think it's too early to make any type of guess as to what.
23-24?
That's what this says. I think that he meant
22-23.
Meant 22-23 as they're talking about next year. But I think that it's entirely too early to make a call as to who your starters are going to be next year because, as we well know, after last season, you lost half your team. And with the transfer portal being where it's at right now, who knows what this team looks like next year. So I'm not ready to say anybody's anything, especially before the season's over and we have no idea what this team's going to quite look like next year.
Right. Agreed.
But I do think he is in that grouping that does need to make that big leap.
Agreed. Especially when you're talking about needing.
He's as talented as anybody on the team.
Right.
He's going to have to take a jump next year.
Him with Odie, with Mikey. I think those are probably the 3 that need to make that biggest leap. Potentially Jarrett Hensley. I just love his frame. I don't, he needs to just show me a lot. Just make that leap, yes. But I think Vic is in that big 3 with Odie and with Mikey.
All right. Next question. Who would you consider the number 1 recruiting 23 target for basketball?
Isaiah Collier.
Pretty easy there. Do we have a legit chance at Dalen Swain? If so, who's our main competition?
Yes, they have a legit chance at him. We'll see where his recruitment goes this spring and summer.
All right.
The question, as we've talked about many times with Dalen Swain.
Well, the thing is, I don't know that I've ever seen Recruit 101 post questions before. So that's somebody new who may or may not have been listening. So maybe that's
no. I'm just like I was gonna add on because he was new. If you let me finish a sentence, Aaron. The thing with Dalen Swain, as we talked about, Cincinnati's bringing in 2 wings. They're also going after Rayvon Griffith. That would be 3. How many wings are you bringing in? As I've talked about, I'm a big Dalen Swain guy, but I just think you start to get into a numbers crunch with having to address some other things. Like if let's say they get Isaiah Collier and Rayvon Griffith, hypothetically, or Trey Green and Rayvon Griffith, like looking at the different options of what might happen. Is there really do you have the room to add an extra wing in there? Because you're also going to need to add probably a big, it just kind of gets to a numbers crunch, I think. What was that?
Was that a doorbell?
It's my wine glass.
Oh, okay.
Pizza's here.
It's like crystal, baby.
Good day, sir.
But yeah, it is a numbers crunch, Chad, as you were saying.
All right. What's the 3 of your takes on whether this roster needs major overhaul for next season, as is suggested by some after every loss, or if the base is there for these guys to improve in the Miller way and maybe adding just a big from the portal to go with the 3 signees? I think that if they can find somebody to improve this team anywhere, you do what you can to improve this team. I think there's lots of guys that.
But to do that, you got to punt.
Agreed. You just have to be ready to make that move, and change. It is a coming. You just gotta embrace it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm never one to make those tough changes or suggest it.
The eternal optimist.
But there's only 13 scholarships allotted to college basketball teams. And with the, next season is one thing, but that following season, when you do make the move to the Big 12, is when you got to be ready, guns blazing. Because I think if you have a rough first season in the Big 12, it's going to be tough to kind of right the ship and really rise quickly.
It's going to be a rough first season in the Big 12.
No,
100%.
Rough as in last in the Big 12. If they're middle of the pack, winning and competing in good games, that's not rough. If they're dead last, that's rough. That's what I meant by rough. Not like
we're not gonna be dead. We're not gonna be dead last.
12.
We're not gonna be dead last because UCF's coming with us. It'll be fine. But
right, no, but you know what I didn't mean they're gonna go in and be the number 1 team and beat Kansas. And no, that's not at all what I meant. Just you're gonna need an upgrade overall if you want to be able to go and compete in that opening season. I think that's gonna be important
everywhere, all positions. There is a follow-up, though. If any of you think the roster does need another 2 to 3 guys, do you see Miller pushing for that? I think we answered that anyway. It's just asking if Miller's going to be the one that's going to be making that move. Do you think that that's something that he does? I think we all agree at this point that.
I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thanks, Chad.
I think they're doing a great job, too. I love this team.
Of course you do.
I love everyone.
You make me want to throw up sometimes.
I would be there to catch it, by the way.
I don't doubt that. And you tell me how good it was. Which of these UC coaches' first-year team had better pieces to play competitively against this Houston team? Andy Kennedy, Mick Cronin, Bob Huggins, or John Brannon?
Andy Kennedy.
Yeah, that team
He
was
had Eric
awesome.
Hicks,
I think that's.
James White, Devin Downey,
I think this is a consensus.
Armin before he got hurt.
healthy Armin. Like that's not even. That's not
Even
even a
said,
close.
even said would battle down there a little bit.
That's not even a close question.
I mean,
Connor
Brandon's first
Barwin?
team too. They beat
weren't.
Memphis.
They had Trey and
Jaren and Trey. Yeah, I mean they beat Memphis. Sure, it's a different Memphis, but
different Memphis.
I mean,
Different Houston is what you mean. Houston.
yeah, different Houston. Yeah, still that Houston team was good.
Yeah. Andy.
Cronin's team would have.
I think Brandon's a second, but yeah, not. I don't even know that it's super close. Which of these UC coaching styles? Oh, there it is. Nope, I must have missed putting this question in. Which of these UC coaching styles could have helped this team play more competitively against this Houston? Andy Kennedy,
None of them.
Mick Cronin, Bob Huggins, John Brandon, Wes Miller.
None of them. None of them.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
this team's
the,
just
the
not.
best parts of all of them.
This team would have had to play a damn near perfect game to beat Houston, even at home. And I just don't think that, again, the disparity between the talent levels is large.
Yep.
I thought at the 8-minute mark in the second half, he put in an odd lineup for the rest of the game. Not sure if that was the white flag and giving other players playing time, but did you feel that way?
No.
I think at some point you just try and do something different and hope that it works.
Yeah, I'm still trying to win the game. Like it wasn't like it was.
Who did
Wasn't
he
like they
sub
were
in?
down by 37. I think it was when they had.
Oh, you mean like with the previous regime?
I'm glad you caught that. I think it was. There was a point where like Hensley and Madsen and Koval were on the floor at the same time. But it wasn't like that was the lineup for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I'm seeing
I think it's
Dave. Yeah, I mean,
I think D-Monk, you were just in your feelings and frustrated because the
we
game
all
was
were.
not going well. Everybody was. And it's easy when you see that to look out there and go, "The hell is this? What are you doing, coach?" Like I think that's a natural reaction. That's what we do, right? Like if you're into the game as a fan, like the only team I really like and get to be a fan of is the Reds. And I do that crap all the time. You got who up in the bullpen? You dumb son of a bitch.
Why are you taking him out after 5 and a third?
You're pinch hitting in the 6th inning for your best hitter to play righty-lefty?
Well, I hope we don't have to deal with the double switch ever again, as hopefully the DH is permanently coming. But anyway,
that's what you do. I get it. I didn't see anything that like seemed out of the normal of other than just trying to make something happen because nothing was working and Houston was kicking your ass.
Yep.
it was good to see JD be healthy though.
Yeah.
After that hard fall, so
hey, he took a little shot, you know.
Yeah.
Rung his bell a little bit and he was all right.
Just ruled incidental though, right?
It was.
Pick one player from each team's roster that would better this year's team. That's
Now you're just asking questions to ask questions, D-Monk. I love you, man. But
I also don't necessarily want to just openly shit on players one by one.
Pick an all-star team that you would like to see this year instead of the current team. That's what we're doing here, right?
Sure.
Okay, I would like a team with
Kenyon,
Nick Van Exel, Kenyon Martin,
Oscar Robertson.
Can we get Danny Fortson?
Danny Fortson, and who's the best wing? The best big physical, like scoring.
Can we
wing
do DeMar Johnson?
history.
Right,
DeMar Johnson. So I want Nick, I want Logan, I want DeMar, I want Oscar, and I want Kenyon.
Can we throw in senior year Trey?
On the bench, yeah.
On the bench, sure.
Yeah.
Gary
you can
Clark?
have him on the bench.
SK?
Gary Clark. SK, yeah, you can have it, yeah.
Jacob Evans.
Well, Gary and Jake were on the same team, so that wouldn't qualify. And,
Well,
Trey
then-
was on those teams too. So
Can Bobby Brandon just be on the bench to rub his tattoo?
yeah, sure.
I like that idea.
Well, he played with Kenyon, so he might be out.
Which year? Which year, Bobby Brandon?
That's the problem when you ask something like this.
Fine.
What
Give me
team-
junior year,
I just-
Jaron
I just
Cumberland
want
on
him
the
there.
bench.
I just want him there rubbing that tattoo.
Right?
Junior year,
Come
Jaron.
on, guys.
Oh,
Come on.
Please, can I have Tony Bobbitt? Please. That's all I'm asking.
Sure. Well,
I think I'm safe
Tony,
there.
did he
think I'm
play with
safe.
Danny? Did he play with Danny?
Nope, he did not. I think
Okay.
I'm safe there.
Okay, I think you might be safe. Did he
The
play
only
with
rub
Lowe?
would be with Jason Maxiel when it comes to Tony.
Did he play with Lowe? Did he play with Logan?
No.
Okay. Well, yeah, then you can have Tony Bobbitt.
Yes.
All right, moving on. I don't even know where to begin with that next.
Don't.
Yeah,
I'm not doing
even,
it.
Not even
Nope.
touching it. Moving on to the banks
What was it?
portion.
The recruit one?
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Just moving on to the banks portion of the mailbag here. As we're not even at 2 hours yet. That's fantastic. Would Bengals winning the Super Bowl trump the
Yes.
Bearcats winning the national championship in the eyes of the city of Cincinnati? Which bandwagon became bigger as things progressed? Professionals
and
always
the
going to be
Bengals.
bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
always.
professionals always going to be bigger.
Because you've got split allegiances. You've got UK fans, Ohio State fans, Notre Dame fans.
Miami,
No, you don't. They don't exist.
no, it's fine.
Like those 6 people are not of any concern.
Wright State fans.
Wrong
No,
school.
also
State,
they
wrong
also
school.
don't exist. But there's UD fans, Louisville fans. I mean, you got all sorts of stuff in the melting pot of Cincinnati.
It's the Bengals, and the Bengals bandwagon is they put 30,000 people in Paul Brown Stadium tonight for a pep rally.
Man, that footage looked pretty awesome.
Well, and how many fans have traveled to Kansas City? How many fans have traveled to Tennessee? And
Yeah, but that's you see fans travel to Notre Dame. They traveled
Sure.
to
Dallas.
Cotton Bowl. I don't think that's a valid point. In
I
this
don't know.
argument.
Fair enough. I don't know. I guess there's also the 31 years of pain
Yeah.
that would
Yeah,
just
but-
mean the world to the city.
Sure, but the Bearcats haven't won technically anything ever. That's probably why their fan base isn't as big as it should be. Also,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
But
No, I agree. I was trying to come up with a big bowl win even, and yeah, I don't know that you're.
and
Yeah.
also when you win a national championship in the 60s, I mean, how long does it take for some people out in the West Coast to hear about it? You know what I mean? Super Bowl's
They
just
still
all
had
over the place.
TV and radio.
Well, I mean, by the time the mail carrier on the horseback got there to deliver the telegram,
Oh, would you look at that? Looks like the old Cincinnati Bearcats won a national championship.
It's better than the delivery system last time Xavier won something.
oh, there's Morse
Now
code
that one
coming
did
in.
get lost in the mail, didn't it?
All right, skins returns.
Dot. That doesn't matter. They've never won anything of any significance. So there's never, All right. Go ahead.
Right.
Yay for no famous people dying this week. If
You
you
don't
could
wanna
live
finish that,
anywhere
Tony?
outside of Cincinnati, where would it be, and why is it Athens, Ohio? Well, I'm living here. So
Currently in Athens.
There is that.
You live there.
yeah.
San Diego for me.
Well, that's not.
Oh,
I guess anywhere outside of Cincinnati. I was just thinking in Ohio for some reason. I guess because you mentioned.
I don't live in Ohio.
Yeah, well, that's a you problem.
No, it's not.
Chad.
I love it where I'm at.
Chad, I hate to say it, but I literally was going to say San Diego.
If you've been to San Diego, it's one of the greatest places on earth.
Oh,
Like
I've never been.
it's 75 and sunny
Never
every
too
day. It's
hot.
50 and cool every night. Like, here's the thing. What is my favorite thing in the world?
Food.
No.
BearcatJournal.com.
No.
I just
Sitting
want
by
to
a
go. I was going to go back and revisit food. I didn't know if you heard me correctly or not.
Chilling, hanging out with your family.
Sitting by a fire pit with my family, listening to music. You know where you can have a fire pit like 340 days a year, and it's perfect fire pit weather? San Diego. Every night is like 50 degrees. Like it's the sun's coming down. You're getting into that. Like it was 75, 80 degrees today. It's going to drop down to like 56 degrees tonight. You throw some logs in the fire. I would probably have like a $5,000 a year wood bill if I lived in San Diego year round. Because every night, like I'd be doing these podcasts. I'd find a way to have like an outdoor setup where I would just do the podcast by the fire pit every night.
I think like Tampa would be nice, or like a Charleston.
Yeah.
Tampa's great from November to April.
Somewhere in Florida would be, yes, it gets hot, but still, it's
not the heat.
Yeah, muggy.
It's the humidity. It's just gross.
Taurus.
Like you walk outside.
It gets more muggy in
Look,
Indianapolis than it does down.
Absolutely not.
I sweat through shirts when it's 70 degrees in the room. So I'm totally fine with being down there and everyone else being as miserable as I am all the time.
What? Then that's why you go to San Diego, where you never get to that point.
I mean, with as bad as this little snowstorm was that we just got, I got to be somewhere warm where you don't have to shovel your car out of just
ever.
You sound like you'd be an Arizona guy, Brent.
Oh, I'd love Arizona.
Like just in the desert somewhere.
Nah, not
when Joe Burrow wins the Super Bowl,
Scottsdale.
Where does he rank in your all-time Cincinnati athletes list?
Top 5?
Already? I think he has to be.
If he wins the fucking Super Bowl, yeah.
I think he has to be.
Wins the Super Bowl and the MVP.
I don't even care about that at this point.
He's got to be. Well, no, I'm just saying that would put him on the Mount Rushmore probably, because
just consider
those are both things that haven't happened.
I don't want to Dan Marino this or anything, but just consider the fact that he's only in his first full year, and that he has a long career ahead of him, God willing, and that this could be something that becomes. I don't want to say that this is going to be like the beginning of the dynasty or anything like that, but this
Getting
could be
the AFC is going to be like a
gauntlet. An absolute gauntlet, but this could be something that we get to do, maybe another 2 or 3 times if we're lucky. So
I did see a tweet that was kind of funny. It was like, what if Joe Burrow just, wins the Super Bowl and then just says, "All right, guys, that was fun. Just won the national championship, won the Super Bowl, in and out."
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
He's not built that way, but that would be super LeBron James-esque.
Not 1, not 2, but just one, the first one ever.
Yeah, just one, just the first one,
so.
and I retire. I'm going into MMA.
Skins did say, P.S. I'm not killing Aaron this week. Chad's doing that for me by setting up another podcast for him to produce, and I figure he'll die from exhaustion. With the news that the Who will be having a concert at FC Cincinnati Stadium in May, who would like to see them have a concert or anyone have a concert? Who would you like to see have a concert at Nippert? There we go. I know in the 70s, Aerosmith was part of a music festival at Nippert.
I mean, my music interests are pretty small.
Outcast reunion show at Nippert?
Yeah, I'm down. Let's go.
I think,
or like the Raconteurs.
Pretty doggone good show.
Yeah, I'd go see a show at Nippert. Like you put the stage right where the Bearcat layer is, and you play it throughout. Like the sound would be amazing. I would think. Like I would think Nippert would be dope. Like you can put what? 30,000, 30,000 in there.
Well, not if you're if you're putting people on the field on top of what you have in the stands.
True.
The only problem is like assigning seats. Well, I guess that wouldn't be a huge deal.
Well, you have a pit.
Yeah.
And then you just put down the wood over the turf.
Yeah.
Then you put seats in. Like
I guess we'd all be spoiled at that point having an excellent sound system inside Nippert.
Right. Well, they bring
And
their
open
own,
it up
generally.
with, you got
That's
a
what I'm saying. Like
computer.
we'd actually have a good sound system in Nippert though, and
Yeah.
then we'd be like, why doesn't everything sound like this?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Um,
Who's your dream concert at Nippert, Brent?
Man, sheesh. I really don't know because, I mean, if I'm there at Nippert, I'd feel a little sacrilegious to be going how I normally go to concerts, which is like, feeling very good. So, something good, but not something that I want to.
Gee, thanks. Good answer, buddy. Something
Well,
good.
I'd
like it to be something good. Let me tell you something good. Is that who you want? Who's saying that?
Who knows?
Aaron, who do you have? Who do you have playing there?
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking that it would have to be something that would play for college kids. So I think you'd have to go with probably something like the Chainsmokers. I think would be awesome there.
Did you see the? Do you watch? So there's a thing that Barstool does. It's called Sunday Conversation.
No.
And it's with Caleb Presley that used to play quarterback at UNC.
Glenny Balls.
And Glenny Balls. And they had the Chainsmokers on this weekend was their guest. And it's so stupid. Like, that's the whole point of it.
Sure. Oh, it's
so
hilarious.
he was like, one of the guys in the Chainsmokers is a DJ, right?
Right.
So he was like, pointing out that like Daft Punk and Marshmello and like all these, like all the most famous DJs.
Marshmello was going to be the next one that I mentioned, but yes,
have helmets, right? So he was like, we made you a gift. Then he brings out one, and it's a cigarette butt with the filter is like where he just had two little eyes cut out, and like it was a burnt down, so it had like the top of it.
Right.
And then the other one they brought out, and it was really hard to like tell what it was. And the dude was like, what is this? And he was like, it's crack. So it was a spoon. It was a metal spoon that had.
Jesus.
All right.
You have to go watch it. Look up.
Brent, I said, I got Chainsmokers and Marshmello. What
Sunday
you got,
Conversation is hilarious, by the way.
Oh, it is must watch every
so
Sunday,
funny.
Aaron. It is so like it's absurd.
Like
How
Jimmy John,
ridiculous. Yeah.
I mean,
the Jimmy John one was fucking great.
He just died laughing. I was like, what is this? No, it's good. It's good. Definitely good. No, but Aaron, I'm kind of
make a pick. Other than if it was somebody good, I'd be happy.
As far as like,
he's stealing your answer now.
No.
It was a good answer.
College kids involved, so I mean, I think just I don't know, like
Wiz Khalifa or
like Drake,
Mia Khalifa.
No,
I mean, I just don't know.
She's out the game.
Okay.
She is, but yeah,
okay.
And then also like Quick Reaper said, I'm stealing it from people, but I mean, or you can go old school but that wouldn't really attract the college kids.
Exactly.
I'm kind of with that house music / I mean, I'm sure you could have little like probably not a mini festival there, but
all right, moving on. With the Olympics going on, what Winter Olympic sports do you think you'd be the most successful at? Which would you most want to try? Lastly, could any of you make it all the way down on a live or skeleton without crashing horribly?
Curling. What I would be most successful at. Did you see the U.S. curling team? It looks like just a bunch of dads from the bar that they like. Like, hey, you guys, you want to come do this? And they're like, sure, yeah, sounds great to me.
It's the DBP plus Dave. That's
right. Yeah. Which would you most want to try? None of them. It's the Winter Olympics. That shit's cold. I'm out on winter sports. Could I do that? The other? No, I could not. I would crash and probably die.
Dead.
A terrible viral death.
Like bobsledding, not in on that. Skeleton.
No, he's talking about the skeleton.
Yeah, the skeleton's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Abso-fucking-lutely not, sir.
How many people annually die skeletoning?
I mean, I saw the one footage.
Pretty safe, like because of the way the
track
is basically just in a rut. Like
somebody's got to carve that rut out, man. Just telling you.
Not me.
No, hell no. I'm all the way out on that.
What were you gonna say, Brent?
Well, they showed some like head cam footage recently of someone going down
crashes.
there.
Yeah.
That's just scary.
No,
Very, very scary.
Do they have inner tube riding for like the Winter
Yeah.
Olympics?
I'll ride down it on an inner tube. You're absolutely right.
I think that's the
riding,
only. I think that's the only one.
riding down it with like 2 pieces of plywood and like rails. Nah, man, nope, not
the way
me,
out on
not
that,
this
man.
guy.
I could probably do a skiing competition. I'd come in dead last because I would just like go down the hill. That's all I would do.
I'd go down like the one dude did, where he was just passed out.
Yeah, that was.
Are there-
scary, too.
Are there any Winter Olympics sports that are warm?
No.
Okay, then I don't want to do any of them.
Probably
I
back
don't
in
like-
the
I
village
don't-
with.
I
The
don't like
cabin
the cold.
scotch.
Yeah, the cabins. Well, that you know what they do at the Olympics. Like so, I'm gonna do curling and then try to hook up with that chick from the Netherlands speed skating team.
That's the ticket.
Google Netherlands speed skating, Aaron, and get us a picture of this chick.
Well, outside of that, that's the end of the mailbag. So I'll
Okay.
try and find Netherlands speed skating.
Yeah, hot. You might have to put hot afterwards.
Apollo Anton Ono.
No, that's not her.
Not even her.
That's not her. He was cute though, but that's not her.
Pretty doggone good. Sean White. Gonna do it again. What you
We
got for
talking
us,
this
Aaron?
one?
Yeah, that the one in the middle.
This one?
I think that's her. No, that might not be her. I needed the names. You had the
Scroll up.
Irene-
Scroll up.
Irene Woost, Irene Shooten.
No,
I don't know. If you're
We
still
will
here,
find
God
them.
bless you.
Yeah, hold on.
Well, look on. Keep an eye out for it on Chad's Twitter. There's no reason to keep it going on here.
Mo and I talked about it on the radio the other day. I can't remember her name though. Oh, that's got to be it. Judah, Jutta, Leaderdam, Leerdam. Judah, that was her name.
That is the one.
Yeah,
That is the one. Judah.
I'm gonna be watching
Leerdam.
speed skating. She
Very
looks
good.
good.
All right.
She was
Very
a world
good.
Fantastic, guys.
She was a world
Well,
champion.
And
Would you
world
try
champion.
speed skating, where you're leaning all the way?
I can't
people
roller
crash,
skate
and it looks
very
like
well.
it hurts, man.
Yeah. No. Everything about the Winter Olympics just is built to break you while
Yeah.
you're cold.
Yeah, I hate. We just talked about where we want to live. None of us picked anywhere that was cold.
No.
I don't
No.
like being cold at all.
No.
All right,
Well,
go ahead and hashtag or timestamp that, and let's get us out of here.
timestamp, y'all. Timestamp, y'all. But
All right.
hey,
I'm gonna fire
Guys.
you.
guys, it's time for us to hop on out of the BBP. It's time for us to say a big thank you to Danco Transmission. And then after that, a lot of other opportunities for us to say thank you at the very end as well. But alongside that huge week for the city of Cincinnati, Bearcat basketball back on the hardwood, 2-game road trip, both winnable games. Keep an eye out on that. Of course, as always, Super Bowl Sunday. Huge chance on Sunday for Cincinnati to pull out a first. Joey Burrow, let's go, let's believe. But for my good pals, good friends, good buds in Cincinnati sports, Aaron Smith and Chad Brendel, I am Brent Young. Yet again, this was another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.